3 days ago, the power went out. It started with a flicker, barely noticeable. Then, darkness. Now, it's constant. Your phone hasn't had signal in over 12 hours. The water slowed yesterday and stopped this morning. No messages, no news, no answers. Outside, it's not just quiet, it's wrong. You see a neighbor shouting at an empty gas pump. Further down the street, two people fight over the last case of bottled water from a ransacked delivery truck. And inside, your child sits at the table, hugging a worn-out blanket and asks softly, "Are we going to be okay?" This isn't the end of the world. Not yet. But it might be the end of that world. The one you knew, where help was always a phone call away, where chaos was something you watched on the news. This is what collapse really looks like. Not fire in the sky, not zombies or meteors, just breakdown. Silent, gradual, unannounced. One piece of the system failing after the other, until the silence feels heavier than the noise ever did. Most people don't notice at first. They keep living as if it's a temporary glitch. They tell themselves it'll come back online any minute, that someone somewhere will fix it, that normal will return. And that's the trap. It has a name, normalcy bias. It's the mind's way of clinging to what was, even when the evidence is clear that something has changed. History is full of moments when people ignored the signs. Disasters, blackouts, floods, civil unrest. Again and again, people stayed put, did nothing, waited for rescue. And many didn't survive. Because by the time they acted, it was too late to act smart. That's why situational awareness isn't just useful, it's everything. You have to notice the pattern early, when multiple systems fail at once. Power, communication, water, emergency services. And that's not a coincidence. That's collapse knocking on your door. In those moments, every hour counts. Every decision becomes heavier. Because when society stops functioning, no one's coming to tell you what to do next. There's no alarm, no alert on your phone, just instinct. And whatever plan you made just before all this began, recognizing the fall before it hits the ground. Collapse doesn't start with fire in the sky. It starts with small things we've trained ourselves to ignore. A delay in garbage collection, a credit card machine that doesn't process, a local pharmacy closed until further notice. The police line that keeps ringing but never picks up. A citywide outage that lasts more than a few hours, then stretches into days. At first, these signs feel like minor disruptions, inconveniences. But then you realize the radio's gone silent, and the news anchors stop pretending everything's under control. This is the moment most people look the other way. Because if they admit what's really happening, they have to accept what comes next. But you don't have that luxury, not if you plan to survive. The sooner you can shift from normal mode to survival mode, the greater your chances of staying ahead. And it starts with understanding the triggers, not fantasy threats, but the real ones. The ones that history has shown can unravel entire nations. Massive natural disasters, mega droughts, blackouts that spiral into looting, supply chain breakdowns that empty store shelves in 72 hours. And of course, pandemics that lock down cities and paralyze services. Not because the virus kills instantly, but because the system wasn't ready. You remember that. You remember what people did when toilet paper became scarce. Imagine what they'll do when it's clean water or insulin. Collapse is rarely caused by one thing. It's when several critical systems fail at once, and no one steps in to stop the dominoes. Electricity, water, communication, fuel, emergency services, finance. One by one they fall. Until they're not separate failures anymore. They're just one event, one signal. And you either read it in time or you're swept up in the consequences. That's why information matters more than hope. In a crisis, hope won't charge your radio. Hope won't tell you where the violence is. Hope won't warn you when the roads are about to close. But a NOAA weather radio might. So might your local alert system. So might a stranger on an AM band reporting looting 6 blocks away. You don't need perfect information. You just need enough to make a call, to leave early, to lock down, to get water while it's still clean. Collapse doesn't always come in chaos. Sometimes it arrives in whispers. And if you're still waiting for someone to tell you it's time to go, you've already waited too long. When society stops working, survival doesn't come down to gadgets, gear, or clever tricks. It comes down to 4 things: simple, non-negotiable, and brutal in their absence: water, food, shelter, security. Forget everything else for now, because without these, nothing else matters. Water is first, not because it's dramatic, but because it's time-sensitive. You can survive maybe 3 days without it, but your judgment starts to slip long before that. Dehydration clouds your thinking, weakens your body, and turns minor issues into lethal ones. You don't just need water, you need clean water, stored water, water you can carry, purify, and protect. That means knowing how much to store, at least 1 gallon per person per day. Not just for drinking, but for cooking, cleaning wounds, and staying human. People think they'll find water when the time comes. A river, a lake, maybe rain. But when the taps go dry and the shelves are empty, everyone's thinking the same thing. That creek behind the neighborhood becomes a battlefield, and that's when you remember you're either prepared or you're competing. So learn how to make water safe. Boil it, filter it, bleach it if you have to. Not later, now. Because later, people will drink anything, and that's how disease spreads faster than help. Then comes food. It sounds less urgent until you go a full day without it, until you feel your hands shake when trying to light a match, until your kid asks for dinner and you've got nothing left but a plan that you've never made. Food is energy, it's clarity, it's morale. You store it not because you're scared, but because you're smart. And when you store, you think practical, shelf-stable, calorie-dense, ready to eat. Not fancy, just food that waits without spoiling. Food that fuels. Food that can sit on a shelf for a year and still buy you time. But the question isn't just what you store, it's how much. 2 weeks at home, minimum. 3 days if you need to flee, not just for you, for everyone you can't bear to watch go hungry. And then there's shelter. Most people think it means a roof, but in survival, it means temperature. It means protection from cold, heat, wind, exposure. It means staying dry when your clothes are soaked and warm when the world outside can kill you in a few hours. If you stay home, you prep the house, blankets, insulation, alternative heat. If you leave, you carry the bare minimum that keeps you alive: a tarp, a sleeping bag, a layer between your body and the ground. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work. And finally, when you have water, food, shelter, you're still not safe. Because in a collapsed world, people become unpredictable. And when desperation rises, you can no longer assume intentions are good. Security becomes personal. It's how you move, how you listen, how you fortify, how you say no to someone who wants what you have, and maybe how to fight when there's no other choice. Not because you have to, but because survival sometimes demands more than kindness. It demands resolve. And when the basics are in place, when those 4 pillars are strong, you've given yourself something that's suddenly rare: a future. When the lights are out, when the sirens are gone, when the silence around you feels too deep to be safe, you don't wish for tools, you reach for them, and they either work or they don't. But by then, it's too late to figure things out. That's why real preparation doesn't start with a shopping list. It starts with something much simpler: the decision to trust nothing until you've tested it. The gear you rely on in a crisis can't be theoretical. It has to be part of you. Familiar, worn in, reliable when your hands are shaking and the batteries you counted on are already dead. It's the flashlight you've turned on 100 times in the dark, the knife that opens without hesitation, the water filter you've practiced using in clean water so you wouldn't hesitate when the creek turned brown. This isn't about having the latest gear, it's about having the right gear. And more importantly, knowing how to use it before everything gets real. Because here's what collapse teaches fast: cheap tools fail first. The knockoff tourniquet, the no-name batteries, the multi-tool that snaps when force actually matters. These aren't just annoyances, they're liabilities. And in survival, there's no refund policy. You start to understand that quality is quiet. It doesn't show off. It just works, again and again, when you need it the most. And then there's redundancy, something only seasoned preppers really grasp. You don't carry a way to start a fire, you carry 3. You don't rely on one water treatment method. You keep backup tablets, a secondary filter, maybe even plain bleach. Because the moment something breaks, gets lost, or doesn't work in the cold, you either have a fallback or you have a problem. Redundancy isn't about overpacking. It's about understanding that collapse isn't a tidy sequence of events. It's messy, unforgiving, unscripted. And when your gear is tested, you don't want to be figuring things out by flashlight while your hands bleed and your family watches. You want to move with quiet certainty, knowing every item by touch, every pouch by weight, every tool by feel. That kind of readiness isn't bought, it's built over time, through repetition, through the choice to practice while others are still scrolling. Because in the end, it's not about what you carry, it's about whether what you carry can carry you. Quick break. If this video is helping you think sharper and move smarter, hit that like button. And if you're serious about survival, subscribe and stay one step ahead. Alright, let's get back to the video. In the first few days of collapse, the world might feel eerily calm. People are still polite, they still wave, they still think the power's coming back any minute now. But under the surface, something else is stirring. A slow erosion of restraint, a shift in behavior, and how people look at each other, what they're willing to say, and what they might be willing to do. Because when resources vanish, laws become blurry. When hunger sets in, desperation moves in. And then, safety isn't a service you call, it's something you carry inside you. It's how you move, how you observe, how you prepare to be unnoticed or unapproachable. You stop talking about your supplies. You stop posting photos of your gear. You stop telling friends, yeah, I've got food stored just in case, because you realize something harsh but true. If things get bad enough, even people you once trusted might come looking for what you have. And maybe they'll ask nicely, at first. But OPSEC, operational security, exists for a reason. It's not paranoia, it's protection. It's knowing that in a collapsed system, what people know about you can hurt you. So, you keep your plans to yourself. You teach your kids not to talk about the kit in the garage. You use blackout curtains at night. You reinforce doors in a way that looks accidental. You act ordinary until you need to be otherwise. Because deterrence starts long before a threat walks up your driveway. Sometimes it's the flicker of movement in a dark window. Sometimes it's the silence that says, you won't win here. And if it ever becomes physical, and if someone breaks that invisible line, you don't react in panic. You act with precision. Not to win a fight, but to end it. You've trained with whatever tools you keep. You studied the law, because even in collapse, accountability may return. And when it does, you want to answer your actions you took with clarity and not chaos. But then come the real questions. What do you do when someone you know is on the other side of that locked door? When the knock isn't from a stranger, but from someone who didn't prepare? Do you give in? Do you risk your own family to help theirs? Or do you say no and live with what that means? These are decisions no gear can make for you, no training can simplify, and no YouTube video can prepare you for. You just hope that when the time comes, you've already made peace with the line you won't cross. Because in the end, survival isn't just defense. It's about self-control, judgment, boundaries, and knowing exactly what you're willing to protect and what you're willing to lose to protect it. When the systems fall and all that's left is you. Imagine this. You're ready. As ready as anyone can be. You've got your supplies. You've got your plan. You've reinforced your windows, spoken quietly with your family, kept a low profile. Then it happens. Not like in the movies. No explosion, no broadcast from a collapsing government, just silence. And the slow, brutal confirmation that no one's answering anymore. No power, no tap water, no cell signal, no police scanner, no dial tone, just static. That's when reality shifts. You realize the lights might not come back on tomorrow, or the day after, maybe not ever. ATMs are dark, credit cards don't swipe, and suddenly the people with cash in small bills can still barter for things that matter. Everyone else, they're stuck with plastic and panic. You hear rumors, but you don't trust them. You're done with rumors. So you turn on the one thing you've tested ahead of time, a battery-powered radio. It crackles. Then comes a voice. Not official, but clear enough. Roadblock at Main and Route 6. Looting downtown. Stay off major roads. That one sentence changes your plan. That's the value of communication. Even if it's just a whisper in the static, it's something. And in collapse, something is everything. Inside, your environment starts to degrade. The toilet stopped flushing 2 days ago. your trash bags are stacking up, and you realize sanitation isn't just a comfort, it's a threat when ignored. So you make do: a plastic bucket, garage bags, bleach or lime to keep the worst of it at bay. No one taught you this. You didn't want to know it, but now you're glad you did. And when something breaks, a window, a handle, a piece of gear, you don't panic. You get to work. Duct tape, paracord, rope, nails. Tools that once felt like overkill are now the only reason the wind stays out at night. You begin to see the truth. In collapse, knowledge outlasts equipment. The gear you have will wear out. It'll break, run dry, vanish. But the skills you've built, those stay. You know how to light a fire without a lighter, how to signal without a phone, how to secure a door without electricity. You know how to survive cold without a heater, how to cook without a kitchen, how to clean wounds when no one's coming with gloves and a bandage. That's when it clicks. Prepping was never about gear. It was never about stuff. It was always about reducing dependency on systems, services, on the illusion of permanence. And as each day passes, while others scramble, guess, panic, you move with quiet clarity. Because even though the world as you knew it has stopped, you haven't. You were never just preparing for collapse. You were preparing to live through it. You won't hear a warning, not the kind you expect. No sirens, no final announcement, just silence. A creeping stillness that spreads street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, until all that's left is the sound of your own breath in a world that no longer answers back. And in that silence, you'll know. Not because someone told you, but because you saw it coming. Because you didn't wait to be rescued. Because you understood something most people never learn in time. That preparation isn't fear. It's responsibility. It's control. It's a quiet promise to yourself that no matter what happens, you won't be caught sleeping. You don't have to be fearless. No one is. But you do have to be honest about how fragile the system really is. About how long you'd last if it stopped working tonight. And if that question makes you uncomfortable, good. Let it push you. Let it fuel you. Not into panic, but into action. Into building a plan, a routine, a mindset that doesn't depend on someone else showing up in your darkest hour. Because maybe no one will. And maybe that's okay. If you're ready. So start. Not next week, not when it feels more urgent. Start now. Build a kit, make a map, learn a skill, talk to your partner, look your child in the eye and know you'll be able to say, "We've got this," and mean it. Collapse may never come, and let's hope it doesn't. But if it does, you won't need to run. You won't need to hope. You'll already know exactly what to do. Because by then, you'll have something stronger than luck. You'll have readiness. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay sharp, stay safe, and stay ready.